When we look at the statistics provided by government, we see that they are either falsified or information is intentionally left out. The BLS provides the standard inflation statistics, which are great for a humorous read on a monthly basis. The only thing you need to see is your monthly grocery bill to be able to measure this yourself. So, let's take a look. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at the cost of grocery items over the past 10 years. I'm not going to cover this whole list, but this will give you an idea of how far prices have come. You may not recognize that on a monthly basis unless perhaps there's some sort of shortage or reason why the price would spike. You go to the grocery store, you buy your items, and you come home. But if we track that over the previous 10 years, you can really see where they have come from. Look at this all-purpose flour as an example, 44% increase, white rice 31%, sugar 21%, pasta 45%, and so on. And then you'll see items such as milk, which is down 7%. I do believe that there are certain instances where the prices have come down, and the reasons could be because certain industries, like the dairy industry, is heavily subsidized by the government. And you will also see the fact that the quality of certain products has diminished dramatically as the years go on. So this could be playing a role in what we are seeing here today. Now, I'll cover some other items here. You can see on this list, whether it's bacon, pasta, dried beans, ground beef, and so on, the prices have increased as much as 58% over this period of time. But it's not just food that you're seeing. Look at energy prices. Look at equities. Everything is increasing, and that's called inflation. We are noticing the fact that the more money they print, the more prices will rise. It is a fact. So you, as an individual, are going to spend more and more of your disposable income on food. And once it gets to a certain level, you have people who get very, very upset. And that's what's happening here. You can see it that more people are being pushed over the edge, and food, which used to make up a small percentage of an individual's income, is starting to creep, and unfortunately that's not a good sign. So let's look at the BLS. I suggest everybody would occasionally go to the BLS website and see the statistics for themselves. You will notice here, food, remember, all those items that I was covering here today are all typical items that the average family would buy. And you'll see food prices, according to the BLS, is less than 2%. All items is just over 2%. But they use their favorite, all items less food and energy, because it's quote unquote too volatile. Therefore, they shouldn't use it. That's a little ridiculous if you ask me. Look, I just showed you all these items that people are buying on a regular basis. Every week, they go to the grocery store, they're buying those items that I showed you. Yet, they're claiming that food will only increase 1 point something percent. Does anybody believe that? It's really, really frustrating to see this. Okay, now if you go here, why I like this site, you can actually drill down even further. So if I click on food prices, right there, it says 1.6% over a 1 year period. There's no way. I don't know what they're suggesting here. Well, you can look at that. So food at home, food away from home. So I can click on food at home and see that apparently it's barely increased. When you look at cereals and bakery products, minus 0.6%, I just showed you how all of the different wheat products have increased dramatically. Fruits and vegetables, oh look, it looks like a big line, but it's only 1.5% over the past year. There's no way. I have seen significant increases in fruits and vegetables. It's really frustrating, again, to see this. So that's what I suggest you do on occasion. Go to the site, check it out, just for a laugh. You could see this, it's updated consistently, and you'll be able to determine what they suggest as the price and compare it to your monthly grocery bills. You'll notice there are fluctuations in the price. It depends on the sales you get, depends on the stores you go to, but we're talking about averages here. And over the period of time, people are getting priced out. You know how they actually calculate the different statistics? Well, it's something that you may know already, but the way that they do so is, for example, if a steak becomes too expensive, they leave it out of the calculation for determining food prices. They simply say if steak is too expensive, an individual would then choose ground beef. If the ground beef becomes too expensive, they're going to choose something else. And that's the way that they calculate it. It's a fraud because they're not really using the same basket of items. That's the only way you can track a price. So that's why I don't like these price graphs and everything that they show. I just use it to show you the point that this is not accurate. Okay? So you can tell me, depending on where you live as an individual, the food prices that you think you've incurred over these past 10 years. I know for myself, it has been significant, and that is particularly with fruits and vegetables, which personally I eat basically all the time. But there is, let's call it a evolution or perhaps a revolution, or maybe you think it's quite the opposite. Things are changing here, and there's a lot of different strategies that people have come up with to mitigate some of the dangers that we are seeing in the environment. This is a good, I don't agree with everything in here, but it's just good to see the next generation food systems. And I've seen a lot of this. I've talked about it here on the channel, actually. They're talking about urban agriculture and this, automated vertical farms. I actually like this. Somebody in their home could create a system like this with minimal, let's say, upfront costs. I've shown you here before an individual making $100,000 a year from something along these lines, where they are growing food in their own home. They're growing sprouts and little things. I mean, you can't grow everything, obviously, but you would be able to grow some food in your own home, do so using very cheap lighting, and you'll be able to eat cheaper. You're obviously eating very locally, and this would be able to use very, very little water. It's a system that can sustain itself over a period of time, and the impact to the environment, of course, is very minimal. I also like the fact that, you know how it works with things that are polluting from the sky, if you know what I'm talking about here. That won't be an issue if you're growing food indoors. Now, outdoor growing in a perfect environment obviously would be really, really good, but we are moving into what I would call the new world, and things are really changing. The environment is definitely being polluted, whether it's from the skies or what have you. But something like this I think is great. Look, if your neighbor was growing it and you can buy it from him, this would be a good thing. Maybe you have a service you could provide him, he could provide you with the food, and it works back and forth. You don't necessarily need to be a farmer. You can access that from your local environment, and where you would do that is, for example, on Kijiji. So you can meet people that way. I'm sure there are websites, depends on your area. I mean, you would only obviously want to purchase from somebody who lives very close to you. There are a lot of people who do this on their own. So you'll have to search for yourself. There are other systems such as aquaponics, which people have talked a lot about, and it's supposedly a very, very efficient method here. And there's more here. I didn't want to cover this too much, but just to let you know that things are changing because, number one, we are getting into these really densely populated cities. Too many people are in a too close of environment, and that's causing a big problem. Then you have to get food from further and further and further away. Obviously not good. You have increased shipping, and there's all the things that go in line with that. But what we can see here is that these offer different benefits to people. When you buy more locally, you can oftentimes get things more cheap. And if it's something that you can provide for yourself, obviously this would be golden. So I'll leave it there. I just wanted to show you today that the price of food has gone so far up, and we're not able to acknowledge it using the government statistics. It's simply not accurate. So we need to use our own grocery bills, monitor them as the days, the weeks, the years go on, and you will be able to get a more accurate description of how bad inflation has become. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. And last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know that you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. You can actually flip through these books. If you go over to Amazon, there's a look inside feature. It's going to allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care.